his 70s, I would think, by now. Let's see. If you ever seen the film Obama about Richie Valens, he plays the manager of Richie Valens. But that was I'm trying to think of what else was he. He's been in a million films, but he's a New Yorker, and he's very, very New York. Yeah, I'm not sure. He hasn't been doing too much acting lately. I haven't seen him do too much. And it may be because he's retired or whatever. I don't know. But yeah. So how did Mark sound though when he did the intro? Did you hear that? Getting through it. Yeah. Okay. Brought my liquid. I got my liquid, not coffee, because coffee doesn't do well with my voice. But I got some tea. Yeah. I know his brother came immediately the day after, and was with him for a while. So, and he's got. When things like this happen, you realize how many friends, really good friends, you have in the world. And he's with his podcast and just his comedy. He's touched a lot of people in terms of listening to what he.
Good morning, Acadiana. This is Local News Live. You're tuned in listening to Local News Live here on AOC Community Media, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with The Advocate. And fortunately, we are joined as almost every morning, not quite every morning, but luckily this morning we were going to miss him, and then he did a swoop in and came back to do the news. He said it was too important. He couldn't take a break from it, and we tend to agree. And Bruce, thank you for upending all of your plans just to be with us to do the news this morning.
My pleasure.
Well, thank you so much, buddy. I'm going to mute my mic and listen to your lovely voice online.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, my friend. You take care, and good morning, Acadiana. We'll just get right into the news. Thousands peacefully marched down University Avenue by Megan Wyatt. Leaders at the University of Louisiana in Lafayette expected a few hundred people to show up for a rally yesterday, Sunday, in response to last week's death of George Floyd at the hands of police. Instead, thousands arrived with a unified message. Police brutality and racial profiling will not be tolerated. This is not police brutality we are fighting, said community activist Corey the Chosen One Levier, as a few people muttered questionably in the crowd. We're not fighting police brutality. Understand in your heart. We are fighting people who are criminals and they're hiding in uniform. The crowd exploded into cheers as Levier, who is black, continued speaking with fervor during the organized rally at the corner of University Ave and Johnson Street. After about 30 minutes, the group dispersed onto the sidewalks along Johnson Street and University Ave. I love it, said 25-year-old Mayasia Smith. I'm glad that I see everybody here. It's great. Smith, who is black, attended the rally with her parents. Everybody matters, she said. We're black kings and queens. Don't kill us. The crowd was diverse, reflecting people of all ages and races as they held signs with messages such as, Dear good cops, your silence is consent, and white silence equals white violence. Ryan Boudreaux, 40, cited the peaceful protest amazing. Boudreaux, who was white, said he's never seen such solidarity over a racial issue in Lafayette before. It's a good localization of people coming together for a cause, he said. Just people coming together, striving to be equal. Vehicles driving by honked at protesters who chanted phrases such as Black Lives Matter and Hands Up, Don't Shoot. Soon, however, thousands of people spilled out onto the street in march from the college campus to the Lafayette Police Department. Their chants grew more passionate as they arrived at the police department, saying no justice, no peace, no racist police. There is a asterisk asterisk, so known as racist asterisk police. Dozens of police officers stood by as the events unfolded, but did not interfere with the rally or the march to the police station. We are an impartial mitigator in these types of circumstances, said Scott Morgan, interim Lafayette police chief. We are here for both sides. We are here for our community. Also in attendance was Lafayette Mayor President Josh Guillory and UO President Joseph Savoy. The message is loud and clear, Guillory said. We will not stand for what happened, just like the people in Minneapolis do not stand for what happened to Mr. Floyd. Savoy said the university expected about 300 people at the rally. It's much larger than anticipated, Savoy said, as people chanted George Floyd along University Avenue. It's impressive. College campuses are places of free expression, a safe place for people to express themselves and their points of view. We have lots of events, but not quite this large. The Lafayette rally was one of hundreds to happen across the United States since May 25th, when a black man died at the hands of Minneapolis police. A video of the incident shows an officer kneeling on the neck of Floyd, 46, for nearly 8 minutes. Floyd later died at the hospital. Some protests in major U.S. cities have turned violent, but that wasn't the case at the Lafayette rally. Although tension grew as protesters overtook University Avenue and marched to the police station, an event organizers tried to stop them. The UL Student Action and Organizing Committee, along with the local branch of the NAACP and Move the Mindset, organized the rally. Leaders of the organization said they banded together after multiple people reached out to them looking for a way to protest. They asked people to maintain distance and wear face masks during the event because of the coronavirus pandemic. Although people would gather close together at times, nearly every protester wore a mask. Some even wrote messages such as "I can't breathe" on their mask, a reference to Floyd's plea to please during the final minutes of his life. George Floyd is not here right now to speak for himself, so we're speaking for him, said Carlos Harvin, Chief of Minority Affairs for the Lafayette Consolidated Government. To honor the memory of George Floyd, we're going to fix what's broken in our criminal justice system so what happened to him never happens to anybody else again. And you could probably go to either of the local TV stations, to their Facebook page or their website, and you can probably see video footage of yesterday's protest. Ushering in June, interim SLCC Chancellor seeks busy, smooth transition by Ken Stickney. South Louisiana Community College, or SLCC, felt like home from Vincent June's second day here in 2016. Traveling from Lafayette to SLCC's campus in New Iberia for a meeting, June passed field after field of sugarcane along the highways and back roads of Iberia Parish. He called family members back in South Florida, where the cane crop was a typical sight in his home area's farming community. I was so excited. I didn't realize it was sugarcane down here. I called my mom and son and said, I'm on my way to campus and there is nothing but sugarcane here. My mom was like, oh my God. My older sister said, you're right at home. June assumed the role of interim chancellor at SLCC on Saturday, replacing Natalie Harder, who left for the president's job at Coker University in South Carolina. Louisiana Community and Technical College System President Monty Sullivan announced the appointment last Wednesday. Dr. June is exceptionally well prepared from a community college and college pedigree, Sullivan said Friday. He has a solid background from multiple states. Sullivan called June's knowledge of the region, his time in Louisiana, and his success in driving initiatives within SLCC. He is a consummate professional, always with a smile and personality. He has commitment to the mission and the work we do. He embraces it and lives it every day. Dr. June is a key reason SLCC has been so successful over the last few years, Harder said on Friday. He's able to see the big picture, but also drill down into the details in an impactful way. I know that during his time as interim, SLCC will continue to be strong and not miss a beat with respect to serving its students and the community. June grew up in an agricultural area of Palm Beach County, Florida. Crops included sugarcane, sweet corn, sweet bell peppers, rice, and lettuce. His hometown of South Bay, westernmost and populous Palm Beach County, rested on the shores of Lake Okeechobee, Lake Okeechobee, giving him a country background where he fished and developed his passion for the outdoors. He has a second background, too, with deep roots in education. Both parents were educators. His grandmother, who lived across the street, was a school principal. Vincent said he tried to dodge a career in education. He first studied biology at Florida A&M, hoping to be a dentist, and later, under the influence of a professor, switched his major to business and economics. He earned an MBA and later a doctorate at Washington State University. Time in the Northwest gave him his first experience of reflection on being a minority, too, he said. His hometown was mostly black, although there were migrant workers and a multicultural environment. He learned to speak Spanish while in Florida. His undergraduate years were spent at a historic black campus. But Pullman, Washington, home of Washington State, and Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, where he worked in private enterprise on an MBA thesis project, were overwhelmingly white. For the first time, he said he appreciated what it was like to be a racial minority. It was the best experience, he said, of his graduate education in Washington. He moved 3,500 miles away to live in unfamiliar surroundings, which helped him build character. People embraced me here and there, including leadership at the private company where he worked. He played golf with the company's leader. June's uncle was former professional golfer Calvin Pete, who won 12 PGA Tour events, and he flourished professionally and personally in an unfamiliar environment. Now 50, June has spent the past 25 years working in higher education, first at Florida Gulf Coast College, where he was the youngest member of the leadership team, and later at Georgia Perimeter College in metropolitan Atlanta, a 2-year school and entryway to Georgia State University system. Among his jobs was Chief Enrollment Officer. Enrollment grew from 15,000 to 25,600 while he was there. He was a 2014-2015 ACE Fellow with the American Council on Education and spent his fellowship year at Cuyahoga Community College in Cleveland, Ohio. That made him committed to his career in community colleges. He came to SLCC as Vice Chancellor of Student Services and added to the role, becoming Vice Chancellor of Student and Academic Affairs. June readily confirmed that he'd have some nervous energy as he assumed control Saturday, but it would be a good nervousness. He would be ready to start and eager to succeed, he said. Saturday's plans called for him to smoke some meat and to ride his motorcycle. Speaking by telephone on Friday, he said he had an executive meeting Thursday and would have one scheduled for early in the week. He needs to shift some of his present responsibilities to other administrators, he said, to free himself up to oversee the college during his transition. He's also ready to meet with some of SLCC's community partners and with Sullivan to help develop his early focus as interim chancellor. Short-term goals include training for our faculty as they prepare to deliver hybrid courses, some face-to-face, some online for the fall semester. He said he expects a smooth transition as the college becomes nimble in meeting the challenges of COVID-19, as well as a hurricane season which starts today. There's family time too. His son Zaire, 14, who plays violin and viola and runs cross country, will visit from Florida. The youngest of 4 children, June has 3 older sisters. He said they remain tightly knit and have combined efforts to raise all of their children. He has a daughter in Savannah, Georgia with twins. He says he's in daily contact with them. Minimally, my outlook through the year includes a smooth opening in fall. Enrollment must be steady, very efficient and proficient course delivery for students. And although I'm in interim, we have to keep our fingers on the pulse of the area and have a conversation about what the college looks like for the next 5 years. We need a vision, no matter who is in the seat, he said. I'm savvy enough to know that process is still necessary. All right, let's turn to a couple of PSAs for the morning. And we'll start off with the Vitalant begins testing all blood donations for antibodies to COVID-19. Dual benefit. Doctors learn their antibody status and patients receive critically needed blood. Today, Vitalant became the first national blood bank to test all blood donations for antibodies to SARS-CoV-2, the coronavirus that causes COVID-19. The nation's largest independent nonprofit blood collector, serving hospital patients in South Louisiana, is providing the best results to donors who complete successful blood donations, which are now critically needed. The antibody test authorized by the FDA or the Food and Drug Administration will indicate if the donor's immune system has produced antibodies to the virus, regardless of whether they ever showed symptoms. It is possible that over time, the broad use of antibody tests and clinical follow-up will provide the medical community with more information on whether a person who has recovered from COVID-19 is at a lower risk of infection, and if so, for how long. For more information, contact vitalant.org/COVID-free. That's vitalant.org/COVID-free. Donors are urged to give blood as soon as possible. Appointments are strongly recommended. You can visit vitalant.org or call 877-258-4825. And if you're not aware of it, Vitalant does have a blood donor center right here in Lafayette on Bertrand Street. So please give them a call if you're willing to donate blood or plasma at this time. AOC teams up with the United Way of Acadiana for Learn United. The United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local educational groups for Learn United, bridging the digital gap to provide educational resources for households that don't have internet but do have a television. The Learn United program airs weekdays from 8 to 2 on AOC 2 and Cox 16 or LUS 4 and streaming at aocinc.org/watch For the daily schedules and to submit content for this program, visit the United Way of Acadiana website at unitedwayofacadiana.org/learn-united. All right, heading back to our stories for the morning. Economy diverse, but not immune. It's not just the oil field suffering during the pandemic. The toll is widespread. Story by Megan Wyatt. Lafayette leaders learned an important lesson in the mid-1980s as the price of oil, along with the local economy, crashed. Industrial diversification would be integral to the region's survival in the years ahead. The Hub Cities industry has become more diverse in the past 3 decades. Sure, it's still home to numerous oil field service companies, but it's also become a hub for entertainment venues and medical clinics. Problem is, these industries are suffering as well. Entertainment obviously is suffering. That's primarily tourism, said Greg Goldthrow, CEO and president of the Lafayette Economic Development Authority, or LEDA. Medical is affected because so many people, like dentists, were forced to shut down. And even more importantly, who has insurance? Because when the oil industry goes in the direction it's gone, we see significant loss in the medical industry because of lack of insurance. While the coronavirus pandemic has devastated the global economy, it's still too soon to know the real impact COVID-19 will have on the region. We just don't know enough, Gothrow said, and we don't know enough until later in the year. Right now, the coronavirus shutdown has hit anyone in the service industry the hardest, Gothrow said. Bartenders, waiters, hotel employees, and hairstylists have been in the spotlight, but it's also affecting lawyers, engineers, real estate agents, karate instructors, wedding planners, and just about anyone else who offers a service. Hannah Trahan, who plans events and vacations through her business, Southern Cotier Weddings, does not expect to face substantial losses from the pandemic, although she's had to put in many long days without extra pay to reschedule weddings and trips for clients. Financially, for me, it's just been a shift in income, Trahan said. I'll still get paid. I'll just get paid later in the year. Many local businesses are in the same boat. Most can stay for a few months as long as businesses resume in the near future, Gothrow said. It will be hard to see the economic impact of the coronavirus shutdown until later this year. That's when those outside of the service industry are more likely to be impacted. There are thousands of businesses that we just don't know where they are right now, Gothrow said. I think we're resilient people, and I know we'll come through it. It's just a matter of time, and we're just beginning. A recent survey by LEDA and One Acadiana shows that above all else, business owners are watching their spending closely and are canceling events and purchase orders. About 90% of businesses expected their revenue to be down, and more than half of the businesses reported uncertainty when estimating how long their businesses will continue to survive. Loan programs can make a difference, although many business owners reported it was too soon to know for sure. Gothrow and others who work with entrepreneurs have also reported seeing an increase in new businesses since mid-March. Some are finding solutions to new problems created during the pandemic, and others are starting businesses after losing their jobs. What I love about this community is that they're just not sitting around waiting for it to end, said Destin Ortega, director of LEDA's Opportunity Machine. They're not just wishing for it to be over. They're using their time to start something new or solve a problem. Between rescheduling events, Trahan has also found time to offer new services. There's been a national trend of micro and mini weddings, which are geared toward couples who want to have a short engagement, smaller guest lists, and simple ceremony and reception. Trahan's been working with wedding venues, caterers, photographers, and florists to offer them in the Acadiana area. Trahan has 3 days for micro weddings lined up before the end of the year. 4 ceremonies will happen on each of those days, with each wedding sharing the same venue, decor, photographer, and caterer to lower the cost of the events. They'll be able to have some of the best in the business this way, Trahan said. and it will all be planned. All they have to do is pick their date and cake flavor. Well, that's a nice story. It shows that we must go on and continue in the best way we can. I know it's everybody's talking about a new normal, but yes, this after we get through this, it's just going to be a new world out there. So we need to adapt to the challenges. All right, and we'll continue with one last story before we go to our day in history and Zodiac. 9 workers evacuated from offshore platform by Sarah Sneath. 9 workers on a Shell-operated platform in the Gulf of Mexico were evacuated to onshore medical facilities for coronavirus testing, and 6 of them has tested positive for COVID-19, a Shell spokeswoman said. The other 3 workers tested negative. There have been about 100 known cases of COVID-19 among offshore workers in the U.S. since the pandemic began, according to the National Ocean Industries Association. That's out of 25,000 workers who rotate offshore, according to the industry group. In March, the Offshore Operators Committee, a member organization of energy companies operating in the Gulf of Mexico, created a tip sheet for reducing the virus's spread. Suggested mitigation measures include pre-screening before workers are brought to platforms, cleaning of oft-touched surfaces on the platforms, and planning for quarantine and specialized transportation for anyone on board who exhibits symptoms. The first worker, who was suspected of having COVID-19 on a Shell-operated platform in the Gulf of Mexico, was flown onshore on May 23rd. 2 days earlier, Shell had implemented mandatory COVID-19 testing for all personnel traveling offshore to Shell-operated platforms, but the workers who tested positive were already offshore by then, said Shell spokeswoman Cindy Babsky. Before the mandatory meeting, Shell workers were required to fill out a screening questionnaire before they were flown to offshore platforms by helicopter. The company also extended the length of the stay on production platforms from 14 days to 21 days. Those who work on drilling rigs will now stay offshore for 28 days instead of 21 days. Shell's priority remains the safety and health of our people and the safe operations of all of our assets, Babsky said. We have been and will continue to take steps to protect all employees, following guidance from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and local public health officials, while maintaining data privacy and individual health confidentiality. The confined working conditions of offshore platforms increase the chances that offshore workers could catch COVID-19 and spread the virus. NOIA President Eric Milito said, the association has asked federal agencies as well as the governors of Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas for priority access to COVID-19 testing and equipment for offshore workers. The relatively limited number of infections offshore is a testament to the industry-wide alignment towards mitigating COVID-19, he said. We've seen remarkable results with an exceedingly low COVID-19 spread rate, but we need expanded access to testing and equipment to sustain this success. All right, turning to the police blotter. Saturday night shooting leaves 1 dead. By staff report, Lafayette police were seeking a shooter following a Saturday night shooting that left a man dead. Police found the victim, who was not immediately identified, suffering from a single gunshot wound around 11 p.m. Saturday in the 500 block of Jones Street. He was taken to a hospital where he died. The shooter fled the scene before officers arrived. The investigation is ongoing. Okay, let's turn to the day in history. Today is Monday, June 1st, and as anybody in the Acadiana or South Louisiana or Florida, anywhere in the Gulf knows, today is the first day of the hurricane season. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that we have a safe one. Go out there and pray on the waters. Go to the Gulf and pray that the waters stay quiet this hurricane season. So it is June 1st. It's the 133rd day of 2020. There are potentially 213 shopping days left in the year. Today's highlights in history: on June 1st, 1939, Lou Nova defeated Max Baer in Yankee Stadium in the first U.S. televised heavyweight prize fight. Also on this date, in 1813, the mortally wounded commander of the USS Chesapeake, Captain James Lawrence, gave the order, "Don't give up the ship," during a losing battle with the frigate HMS Shannon in the War of 1812. In 1916, Louis Brandeis took his seat as Associate Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, the first Jewish American to serve on the nation's highest bench. In 1926, actress Marilyn Monroe was born Norma Jean Mortensen in Los Angeles. In 1939, the British submarine HMS Thetis sank during a trial dive off North Wales with the loss of 99 lives. Mexico officially abolished the siesta on the same date in 1939. In 1943, a civilian flight from Portugal to England was shot down by Germany during World War II, killing all 17 people aboard, including actor Leslie Howard. In 1958, Charles de Gaulle became Premier of France, marking the beginning of the end of the Fourth Republic. In 1967, the Beatles' album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, was released, as was David Bowie's debut album, titled David Bowie. In 1980, Cable News Network made its debut. In 2003, leaders of the world's 7 wealthiest nations and Russia pledged billions of dollars to fight AIDS and hunger on the opening day of their summit in Evian, France. In 2008, fashion designer Yves Saint Laurent died in Paris at age 71. In 2009, General Motors filed for Chapter 11, becoming the largest U.S. industrial company to enter bankruptcy protection. In 2017, President Donald Trump declared he would pull the U.S. from the landmark Paris Climate Agreement. The U.S. remains a part of the agreement until November of this year. 10 years ago, Attorney General Eric Holder said federal authorities had opened criminal and civil investigations into the BP oil spill. A divided U.S. Supreme Court ruled 5-4 that criminal suspects had to explicitly invoke their right to remain silent, and that simply remaining silent was not sufficient to stop police questioning. 5 years ago, Supreme Court threw out the conviction of a Pennsylvania man prosecuted for making threats on Facebook, but the justices stopped short of laying out broad constitutional protections for such comments. 1 year ago, Serena Williams suffered her earliest loss at a major tournament in 5 years, losing a third-round match at the French Open to the 20-year-old American Sophia Kenin, 6'2", 7'5". Today's birthdays: singer Pat Boone is 86 years old. Actor Morgan Freeman is 83. Opera singer Federica von Stade is 75. Actor Brian Cox, 74. Rock musician Ronnie Wood from the Rolling Stones, and earlier than that, with the Faces with Rod Stewart, is 73. Actor Jonathan Pryce is 73. Actors Gemma Craven is 70. Actor John M. Jackson from TV's NCIS Los Angeles is 70. Blues rock musician Tom Principato is 68. Country singer Ronnie Dunn of Brooks and Dunn is 67. Actress Lisa Hartman Black, 64. Actor Tom Irwin, 64. Singing musician Alan Wilder is 61. Rock musician Simon Gallup of The Cure is 60. Country musician Richard Como from River Road is 59. Actor comedian Mark Curry is 59. Actor senior Jason Donovan is 52. Actress Terry Polo, 51. Basketball player turned coach Tony Bennett is 51, and actor Rick Gomez, 48, model actress Heidi Klum, 47, and singer Alanis Morissette is 46 years old today. Thought for today: when a thing ceases to be a subject of controversy, it ceases to be a subject of interest. That's a quote by William Hazlitt, British essayist, 1778 to 1830. Turning to the zodiac, or the horoscope, as I like to refer to it as. If you're a Gemini, which means your birthday is between May 21st and June 20th, channel your energy into something that excites you. Show someone you love how much you care. Refuse to let anyone meddle in your personal affairs. Choose peace over discord. Cancers, June 21st through July 22nd. Clear your head before you get into a debate. Emotional responses will not help you get approval. During doing the groundwork will pay off. Say little, but do a lot. Leo, July 23rd through August 22nd. Make a personal change because you want to, not because someone applies pressure. Look for little ways to make a difference and you will gain respect. Virgos, my birth sign, August 23rd through September 22nd. Stay on top of your responsibilities. Leave no room for error or criticism. Keep your life simple and your plans moderate. Some balance will be required if you want to succeed. Libra, September 23rd through October 23rd. Get your priorities straight. Take a physical challenge that makes you feel good. Look amazing and boost your confidence, and it will help you minimize your stress and excess. Scorpio, October 24th through November 22nd. Intelligence, insight, and creativity will help you bypass opposition. Look forward with optimism and turn your dream into a reality. Avoid joint ventures and do your own thing. Sagittarius, November 23rd through December 21st. Don't trust what someone tells you. If you act on an assumption or false information, it will hurt a meaningful relationship. Capricorn, December 22nd through January 19th. Wait, watch, and listen. Look for signs that warrant taking a step forward. Taking action based on emotions will help. It will end up costing you mentally or financially. Personal growth is encouraged. Aquarius, January 20th through February 19th. A project you can do from home will lift your spirits. Improve your surroundings or clearing space for a new project will lead to unexpected profits. Romance is on the rise. Pisces, February 20th through March 20th. Follow through with your plans. An opportunity will come from a past associate. Don't be afraid to make a change or to use your skills uniquely. Financial gain is within reach. Aries, March 21st through April 19th. By mixing business with pleasure, you will win points with someone who can help you advance. Go the extra mile and add something unexpected to a job or responsibility you are handling. And finally, Taurus, April 20th through May 20th. Take a moment to think and plan your strategy intelligently. If you act in haste, you will miss an important detail that will affect the outcome you are striving to achieve. And as always, the horoscope is an entertainment feature, not based on scientific fact. All right. Okay, fooling around a little bit here. Okay, getting back into the news. And I did mention that today is the first day officially of the hurricane season from June 1st to November 31st or 30th. Yeah, 30 days has September, April, June, and November, yes. So June 1st to November 30th is our hurricane season. So let's just all pray, keep our thoughts positive, and keep on thinking calm waters, calm waters. So the hurricane season does begin today. Research gives new insight into storm intensity. Ocean Gliders data may improve models by Mark Schiffelstein. Hurricane researchers believe they have discovered another contributor to the intensity of some hurricanes As they travel through the Gulf of Mexico or Caribbean Sea, surface lenses of fresh water created by the Mississippi, Orinoco, and Amazon rivers. Although hurricanes gain much of their energy from the warmth contained in surface waters in the Gulf, Caribbean, and Atlantic Oceans. But if they move slowly enough, the low pressure at their center actually pulls cooler salt water from the ocean depths to the surface. That acts like someone turning down the burner beneath a pot of boiling water, scientists say, reducing a hurricane's intensity. But recent research developed in part using remotely operated ocean colliders that measure temperature and salinity levels from the surface to 2,000 feet or more below shows that the outflow of major rivers like the Mississippi River can create lenses of long-lasting freshwater at the surface that block or slow the hurricane's ability to draw up deeper salt water, said Frank Marks Jr., Director of National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Hurricane Research Division. Boy, that's a mouthful. It was like a Homer Simpson moment when let me try that again. Homer Simpson moment when I saw the salinity mixing issue. Of course, why didn't we see this before, Mark said. While the river water may be cooler than the surrounding salt water when it first leaves the river's mouth and enters the sea, it's quickly warmed by the heat of the sun, and it retains that warmth by not mixing with the cooler and heavier salt water below. Marine environmental researchers have known for years the role that Mississippi River freshwater lenses have in the formation of the annual summertime low oxygen dead zone along Louisiana's coastline. The nutrient-rich freshwater fuse blooms of algae in the Gulf that eventually die and sink to the bottom, where the algae decomposes, using up oxygen. The freshwater in the surface blocks the mixing of new oxygen into the salt water below, causing hypoxia, levels of low oxygen that cause fish to swim away and kill bottom-living organisms. Last year's low oxygen area covered 6,952 square miles beneath the part of the river called freshwater lens along the state's coast. The part of the river caused freshwater lens along the state's coast. The Mississippi has recorded high water events lasting well into the summer during the past 5 years, and this year is no exception. Monday, today, marks the start of hurricane season, and the river is not expected to drop below 12.6 feet in New Orleans until the end of the month. Last July's Hurricane Barry illustrated the potential perils of having a high river during hurricane season. Emergency managers feared Barry would push water surge up the swollen river at levels high enough to overtop flood walls in the city. Fortunately, it didn't intensify until its center was west of the river's mouth. The ocean colliders have been used since 2014 to monitor ocean conditions during hurricane season, and last year were deployed in the Gulf of Mexico and in the Caribbean, providing information during several tropical storms and hurricanes. The colliders are part of an expanding number of instrument platforms used by researchers to feed information into computer models that attempt to predict when tropical systems form, where they go, and how they intensify. The models generally operate on 6-hour cycles, starting after being loaded with a wide variety of information collected at a specific point in time, and eventually spitting out a solution the public often sees as a video display of a storm's path with an intensity over a period of up to 14 days. National Hurricane Center forecasters then combine their understanding of the agency of the various models and up-to-date satellite videos and offer data to develop numerous pieces of their basic 4 times a day forecast during hurricane season. Basic written forecast messages, more detailed forecast discussion messages, and graphics showing the expected path and the expected window of error around that path for 3 days to 5 days. Separate models provide data for watches and warnings for hurricane storm surges as storms near shorelines. One of the biggest obstacles is expanding the power of both the official National Weather Service models models run by other companies and privately owned models have been the size of banks of computer memories and processing equipment on which they are run. For years, NOAA has moved to larger and larger processor units to provide all of the computational power needed to interpret the varied effects of wind, humidity, air temperature, ocean surface, and deep water temperatures. The droplets of water thrown into the air by winds at the ocean surface and the effects of dust and other particulates carried by the winds. Now, as part of the National Weather Service National Forecast Improvement Project and its development of an all-weather united forecasting system, researchers are turning to the web-based cloud, a large network of remote service that allows modelers to increase their number crunching ability, Mark said. And what was once a research and development process limited to NOAA, NOAA, and other federal agencies has also been expanded to allow sharing with private researchers, Mark said. This is being spearheaded by our acting administrator, Neil Jacobs, he said. Jacobs has been developing weather models at Panasonic Avionics before it was named Undersecretary of Commerce for Oceans and Atmosphere, and then NOAA Administrator in February of 2019. When Neil came to NOAA, he really felt we were missing the boat unless we were getting the model information out to the public, to our collaborators outside of NOAA, Mark said. The result has been a significant improvement in the official NOAA model used for hurricane forecasting known as HWRF, or Hurricane Weather Research and Forecasting. Equally important, the new collaborations are speeding work on a new replacement model called HAFS, or Hurricane Analysis and Forecast System. The new model sees weather in 3 dimensions thanks to new computer technology developed by NOAA's Global Fluid Dynamics Laboratory. The expansion of memory and processing power allows all sorts of data to be quickly and automatically plugged into the model runs, including information from the gliders, which dive 4 or 5 times a day at different locations, and broadcasting information they've collected when returning to the surface. Equally important, Frank said, is the new modeling capacity allows individual model runs to better capture Doppler radar results being provided by NOAA research plans as they fly around and through hurricanes. In the past, that information could be loaded as single coordinates showing the highest wind speed measured by the radar's reflection off of rain in the clouds around the storm. Now the models are able to capture the wind speed radar data from multiple locations in the circular storms, assisting in creating a 3D view of the storm and its intensity. What we're doing was averaging the data, thinking it out so the model could use it at its resolution, Mark said. But the new system is powerful enough to capture the entire shape of a storm's central vortex, he said. The agency will also take advantage of improvements in instrument packages called drop-ons that are literally dropped out of Air Force Hurricane Hunter and NOAA research planes in and around the hurricane to collect wind. Excuse me, let me take a quick drink here. Thank you. To collect wind moisture and other data. We've changed the format of the data so every drop-on now gives a position at every point as it falls. So it's telling the model that the drop-on actually went 10 kilometers downwind before it splashed, Mark said. The drop-ons are expendable and cost about $800 each. Researchers are also reviewing new instruments for capturing data, including a new unmanned aerial vehicle that can be launched from the hurricane hunters or research planes that can fly through or around the storms for as long as 3 hours. Marks is especially interested in a new autonomous sailboat called the Sail Drone that's being developed to withstand hurricane force winds. That means it could travel through and around hurricanes at the surface, radioing back even more accurate wind, rain, and temperature data for model use. The research program is also making more use of behavioral science to help the National Hurricane Center communicate risk to the public. We're changing the paradigm so that we're not only coming up with new forecast products, but we're also asking the users, your readers, does this affect you? Is this helping you make decisions, he said. That change is attitude and part of the recognition by the NOAA and the National Weather Service that while the main audience will remain emergency managers at the local, state, and federal levels, it's the public that ultimately must understand warning messages, he said. One of the first steps the NHC made to better fit its products to the public was its design in 2009 to turn the Saffir-Simpson scale for hurricane intensity into a wind-only product, and then to develop separate storm surge watch and warning products, including color-coded maps that were developed by social scientists to best tell the public how high surge water might be on their streets. More recently, NOAA's National Severe Storms Laboratory in Norman, Oklahoma, has been struggling with how to create its own version of watch and warning messages and graphics to tornadoes, similar to the ones used by the National Hurricane Center for Tropical Systems. For a hurricane, we have days and multiple days to prepare, Frank said. In the tornado environment, you have minutes. The NHC has adopted part of the new strategy in its decision this year to add 60-hour prediction information to its watches and warnings, which have included 6, 12, 24, 36, and 48-hour information, and then information at 3, 4, and 5 days. The 60-hour edition will help emergency managers and the public in a time frame that has become important in making decisions on declaring evacuations. There are still challenges, Mark said. For instance, there's an ongoing effort to improve the accuracy of long-range forecast modeling to the point that new 7-day forecasts could be issued to the public. Experimental 7-day forecasts are already being produced that meet the accuracy marks of 5-day forecasts produced 9 or 10 years ago. But that's not yet good enough, Mark said. Moving on, budget business initiative talks going into OT. Special session kicks off tonight, Monday night, by Tyler Bridges. A regular session that began 80 days ago with Governor John Bell Edwards planning to invest more money in education ends Monday at 6 p.m., with the governor having discarded that goal and on the defense against Republican initiatives sought by the business community. Edwards and his Democratic allies have succeeded in stopping some of these measures, but they will remain on defense with Republican leadership having called the legislature into a 30-day special session that begins 1 minute after the regular session ends. The move reflects how Republican lawmakers are moving away from the traditional legislative deference toward the governor. This is the only second time the legislators have called themselves into a special session. Legislators failed to fulfill their main task during the regular session, pass a budget that will allow the state to pay teachers, provide health care to the poor, operate the state jails, operate the public colleges and universities, and fund thousands of other activities during the next fiscal year that begins on July 1st. Lawmakers will tackle that job again during the special session at a cost to taxpayers of $50,000 to $60,000 per day, and also attempt to pass a series of business-backed measures that were included in the 41-item call. Edwards opposes many of those issues. The biggest uncertainty before the regular session concludes involves a business-led effort to limit the legal rights of people injured in car accidents with the promise that the changes would lower car and truck insurance rates that are the highest in the country. The House and Senate have approved offering versions of the measure. Just Senate Bill 418 by State Senator Kirk Talbot, a Republican from River Ridge. But Talbot and his supporters have stalled the effort to seek final legislative passage to see if they can negotiate a deal with Edwards and his trial attorney allies. State Representative Tanner McGee, Republican from Houma, and the Speaker Pro Tem, said Sunday that if the two sides don't reach an agreement by Monday afternoon, legislative supporters of what they call tort reform will pass the measure before the 6 p.m. deadline and send it to the governor. He has indicated he will veto it unless the two sides can forge a compromise first during the special session. Legislation also must resolve a dispute over whether they or the governor will determine who gets to decide how to spend up to $300 million in federal aid for local governments. Lawmakers convened on March 9th amid high expectations that they would tap into a budget surplus to fund Edwards' request, to provide more money for teacher pay, K-12 schools and colleges and universities. Edwards began his opening address to lawmakers by disclosing the first coronavirus victim in Louisiana that day. As the virus spread rapidly throughout the state, Edwards began devoting virtually all of his time to a burgeoning crisis that for a time seemed likely to overwhelm the state's hospital state system. Lawmakers recessed on March 16th and didn't resume their work until May 4th. But then Edwards had abandoned his plans to invest more in education, with tax revenues plummeting from the collapsing economy. In the meantime, legislators pressed forward with issues sought by business groups that had nothing to do with the pandemic, but which they said would encourage business investment to help the state's economy recover its footing. One effort failed. Senate Bills 359 and 440 sought to kill lawsuits filed by parish governments that accuse oil companies of destroying coastal marshes and wetlands during decades of their drilling and exploration activities. The defeat of those two bills represented a victory for leaders of the 7 coastal parishes that have sued the oil and gas companies, most notably Jefferson Parish, President Cynthia Lee Shang, and the Jefferson Parish Council, who rallied most of the state legislators to oppose it. It was also a victory for the Talbot Carmouche Marcello law firm, which represents 6 of the 7 parishes and has spent $9 million so far pursuing the cases, according to attorney John Carmouche. The legislature did approve Senate concurrent resolution 7 by State Senator Sharon Hewitt, Republican from Slidell, that urges the parishes to drop the lawsuits and say that the parishes improperly hired the Carmouche and the Jones Swanson law firm, which represents Orleans Parish. Edwards cannot veto a resolution, which is an expression of intent but does not change the state law. The legislature approved measures that would expand medical marijuana, loosen some restrictions on carrying a concealed handgun in church, establish a regulatory framework for fantasy sports betting. Legislators still need to establish the tax rates for the betting to begin, and ease the delivery of alcohol by such companies as Uber Eats and Waiter. Among the 41 items in the special session are several measures that would cut business taxes. But the first order of business will be passing the budget. The House Appropriations Committee restarts the budget process on Tuesday. State Representative Jerome Z. Zeringue, Republican out of Houma, and the committee chairman estimated Sunday that appropriations will pass the bill on Friday to have it before the full House on Friday. From there, it will have to go through the Senate. And we do have a couple more stories and PSAs to talk about this morning, or for me to read. And right now, the transmission over the audio transmission over our TV stations has probably gone off the air, but my voice is still available on our YouTube station, which is AOC Community Media, or you can go to our online streaming radio service, Cypress Street Radio, that's CYPRESS Street Radio, and click the play button to hear my melodious voice. So I will continue. Lawmaker, I'm not the poster boy for marijuana. Laurie Bagley went from rejecting legalization to pushing bill to expand medical pot by Tyler Bridges. Larry Bagley knew nothing about marijuana when he was a college student during the 1960s. He was a straight-laced basketball player who was a freshman at Southeastern Louisiana University, held LSU star Pete Maravich to 52 points. Bagley was a teacher years later in DeSoto Parish when he smelled marijuana for the first time. The school principal had to explain to him what it was. In 2016, when Bagley was a freshman in the legislature legalized the use of medical marijuana in Louisiana, but only if it was authorized by specially licensed doctors for one of 14 specified medical conditions. Bagley opposed the bill. In short, he's no Teacher Chong and wouldn't know what to do with a bomb. So Bagley chuckled recently when he asked how he happened to become the sponsor of legislation that would make medical marijuana more readily available to people suffering from debilitating illnesses. I'm not the poster boy for marijuana, Bagley, a Republican from Stonewall, said in an interview, but why I would keep something that is legal out of the hands of people who need it. Bagley's House Bill 819 was approved on final passage 74-16 by the House on Sunday evening and now will be sent to the governor for a signature. It will allow any doctor to prescribe medical marijuana for any debilitating injury. It does not legalize recreational marijuana, which he still opposes. Bagley's shift to medical marijuana reflects a broader change in attitudes on the part of legislators, a change that appears to be catching up with public support or at least tolerance for the drug. In a 2014 survey, pollster John Couvillon found solid support for legalizing medical marijuana in Louisiana. But when State Senator Fred Mills, Republican from Parks, tried to legalize it this year, his effort met a quick demise in the Senate committee. Mills returned in 2016 with Senate Bill 271, which aimed to legalize medical marijuana under strict conditions. It passed the legislature, although without Bagley's support. Mills' bill allowed doctors to recommend marijuana if they obtained a special license from a state board and if the patient suffered from one of the 14 specified medical conditions, including cancer, Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis, and Parkinson's. Legislature had already authorized the sale of medical marijuana in a liquid form in 9 special pharmacies throughout the state. The drug became legal with those restrictions in August of 2019. Former Governor Kathleen Blanco became one of the first people to try medical marijuana legally in Louisiana when she was in excruciating pain while dying from cancer. Blanco, who had never consumed the drug in any form, received relief during the final 2 weeks of her life, family members said. Carmen Blanco Hartfield, the former governor's oldest child, said she heard from others afterward who had turned to medical marijuana. It's not for all people, Blanco Hartfield said recently, but for the people it works for, it's fantastic. Couvillon surveyed the public in Louisiana again this year from Louisiana Association for Therapeutic Alternatives, a pro-industry group, and found that 53% of voters were more likely to support a candidate who favored liberalizing the state's marijuana laws, up from 45% in 2014. In 2014, politicians were still living off the Nancy Reagan Just Say No to Drugs campaign, and that was a generation ago, Couvillon said. Politicians are now seeing it's not a big deal. The average person who turns to medical marijuana is a 53-year-old woman, said Jesse McCormick, a lobbyist for the Association of Therapeutic Alternatives, which represents the 9 pharmacies. He added that the state figures show the number 1 zip code for users is in Covington, and number 3 is in Livingston. Both are politically conservative areas. All of this set the stage for battling this year to try to expand Mills' restrictive 2016 measure. Bagley, 71, now retired from teaching, holds a senior position at 2 Methodist churches in his community. Larry is conservative but infinitely responsible, said State Representative Tanner McGee, Republican from Houma, the Speaker pro tem. Bagley began by trying to add victims of traumatic brain injuries and concussions to the list of conditions that qualify for medical marijuana. Several other legislators also were proposing to expand Mills' 2016 law. When the coronavirus pandemic shortened legislative session, Bagley decided to incorporate the proposed changes into his measure, House Bill 819. Bagley said he has heard from many constituents about the benefits of medical marijuana, especially those looking for alternatives to opioids, which have ravaged the country. If medical marijuana can give us ways to relieve the pain without opioids, why shouldn't we embrace it, he asked. I'm not saying everybody has to do it, patient can say, no, I want opioids. Lawmakers often decide to push legislation because of a personal experience. In Bagley's case, an aunt who suffered from cancer before taking medical marijuana that she obtained elsewhere. It wasn't legal yet in Louisiana. She's immediately got better. She was declared cancer-free later, said Bagley, noting that she also underwent cancer treatment. The aunt felt guilty, however, about breaking the law, consuming a drug that wasn't yet legal in Louisiana, and she stopped taking the drug. A couple months later, the cancer came back and she died, Bagley said. Family believes that if she had continued, she would have continued to live. Bagley acknowledges a lack of science behind his antidote. The lack of specific evidence troubles Dr. Ken Roy, a former president of the Louisiana Psychiatric Medical Association, who has a long career of treating drug addiction at his Jefferson Parish clinic. The body of research on the medical use of marijuana is full of problematic science, small numbers of subjects, and inadequate control groups, Roy said, whereas the science that relates to the harm and potential harm of marijuana products is robust and scientifically valid. State Senator Sharon Hewitt, Republican flagged out, cast one of the no votes when the Senate approved Bagley's bill 28-6. She told her colleagues that she fears they are creeping towards legalizing recreational marijuana, as many states have done. State Representative John Stefanski, Republican from Crowley, said he would oppose that move but supported Bagley's bill. I don't think I've received one letter in support or against it, Stefanski said. The tone of the state has changed. It's hard to argue for doctors prescribing opiates, knowing of all the addictive qualities of those opiates, and argue against medical marijuana. And our last story of the morning, Walker woman seeks reduction in sentence, guilty plea netted 35 years in killing of her convicted molester, by Joe Nyan Jr. A Walker woman claims she never would have pleaded guilty to manslaughter in the 2015 vigilante-style killing of her convicted molester had she known a judge would sentence her in 2018 to 35 years in prison, 5 years shy of the maximum. Calling her prison term a lifetime, 22-year-old Brittany Monk says she instead would have rolled the dice and gone to trial on a second-degree murder charge, what could have subjected her to a life sentence, but also the chance of parole after serving 25 years because she was only 17 when the crime occurred. In an application for post-conviction relief filed in late February at Baton Rouge State Court, Monk complains about her former attorney's East Baton Rouge Parish District Attorney's Office and former 19th Judicial District Judge Tony Marabella, who sentenced her. Monk is asking State District Judge Fred Crafassi, who now presides over the section of criminal court that Marabella formerly presided over, to throw out her sentence and conduct an evidentiary hearing to discuss a downward departure. Her entire life has been a prison of sorts, Monk writes in the petition, which she filed on her own behalf and in which, referring to herself in the third person, she describes her life as one of the torture and pain. She deserves a bit of freedom while she is young enough to enjoy it, Monk writes. In the alternative, she is requesting a jury trial. District Attorney Hiller Moore III said Friday he maintains full confidence in Monk's conviction and sentence. He said his office will respond to Monk's court filing when served with it. Monk entered her manslaughter plea with no indication whatsoever from the court or the state as to the possible sentence, Moore said. The judge considered all the appropriate circumstances and fashioned a reasonable sentence. Monk was not only 17, but also 7 months pregnant when Jace Crayon's child, when the pair broke into Robert Noyce's Jr. Zachary trailer the night of July 4th, 2015, and killed him. Noyce, 47, was strangled, stabbed, and stuffed inside a 55-gallon container. Creon admitted to detectives that he choked and stabbed Noyce after dragging the sleeping man from his bed. Creon said the knife he used was retrieved by Noyce's kitchen by Monk at Crehan's direction. Monk testified she sprayed Noyce in the face with a man's body spray while Crehan wrestled with him. She denied stabbing Noyce but admitted punching him 10 to 15 times while Crehan held him down. At the sentencing of Crehan and Monk, Marabella called the slaying a diabolical act and vigilante justice. Noyce was a former boyfriend of Monk's mother and raised Monk for about 10 years after her mother abandoned her. Monk repeatedly refers to Noyce as her daddy in her post-conviction relief petition. She says she did not learn until much later in life that Noyce was not her biological father. Noyce denied abusing Monk but pleaded no contest 13 days before his death to carnal knowledge of a juvenile involving Monk when she was a child. He was put on probation. A no contest plea carries the same weight as a guilty plea in criminal court, but cannot be used in a civil proceeding. Monk admitted that neither she nor Crehan had any contact with Noyce from the 2012 arrest until his death in 2015, and that Noyce posed no threat to them. Marabella has said. Monk also notified at Crehan's trial that Crehan was not upset by the resolution of Noyce's case. Crehan, 26 of Walker, was convicted of second-degree murder by a non-unanimous East Baton Rouge Parish jury in 2017. Marabella sentenced him to a mandatory term of life behind bars. The U.S. Supreme Court, which outlawed split jury verdicts in April, has sent Crehan's case back to the First Circuit. The move could lead to a new trial for Crehan. In Monk's case, the First Circuit and the Louisiana Supreme Court had previously affirmed her sentence. She claimed a 35-year-old prison term for manslaughter is excessive. The First Circuit said the facts of the case would have supported a second-degree murder conviction. Monk contends in her latest court filing that she could be acquitted if tried for second-degree murder. There is great probability that a minimum one juror would have found the petitioner not guilty of second-degree murder had she gone to trial with expert testimony, she claims. In terms of expert testimony, Monk faults her attorneys for not investigating pedophilia or battered child syndrome and presenting expert testimony on the profound effect of sexual, physical, and mental abuse on its victims. And that about wraps up the news for this morning. I do want to announce a few PSAs. Keeping calm through COVID hotline. If you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear, and anxiety about the uncertainty surrounding the public health emergency, there is a special Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline you can call. This connects you to trained, compassionate counselors who can offer support and who can direct you to mental health and substance abuse counseling services. Trained counselors are available 24/7. All calls confidential. You can call 866-310-7977. That's 866-310-7977 for Keeping Calm Through the COVID time frame. Medicaid resources. If you've lost your job or have reduced hours, you may be eligible for Medicaid. You can apply online at mymedicaid.la.gov. You can also apply by phone by calling 1-888-342-6207. Or you can send it by mail to Louisiana Medicaid, P.O. Box 91283, Baton Rouge, LA 70821. Local Medicaid offices are still currently closed to the public. If additional assistance is needed, you can again call 1-888-342-6207. Locally, Stop the Spread Call instead. For the latest COVID-19 updates and information, call 311 or go online to 311lafayette.services. Call centers with volunteers and medical professionals are active 24/7 to answer your questions about COVID-19 and to determine if you need to get screened. You can also call 311 and press option 2 if you're a business owner, an employee, or looking for a job to get information about applying for small business recovery loans, apply for unemployment benefits, and related programs. And for those individuals who are looking for unemployment, if your hours have been reduced, you may qualify for unemployment insurance benefits. So if you're attempting to apply for unemployment insurance and you're not able to access an existing online account, or you need help resetting your password, you can call Lafayette's Guyana Workforce Solutions Office at 337-262-5601. That's 337-262-5601. Due to high call volume, some calls may not be answered immediately. Call again at a later time or contact one of Louisiana's other offices for assistance. In addition to unemployment insurance benefits, individuals looking for a supplemental income can consider local employment opportunities with businesses who are seeking temporary, part-time, and full-time workers by visiting the COVID-19 Help Wanted resource page at lafayette.org/helpwanted or LEADER's virtual job fair page, with local businesses seeking to hire local candidates for full-time employment opportunities at lafayette.org/jobs. And that about wraps up the broadcast for this morning. Thank you for hanging in there with me since I went a little bit over time today. But as always, you can, if I do go over time, you can catch my voice at AOC Community Media at YouTube or Cypress Street, our Cypress Street radio station at Cypress Street Radio by going to online and to our streaming radio station, Cypress Street Radio, and pushing and hitting the play button. So we thank you for joining us this morning. We will continue to bring the news and read the news to you every morning, Monday through Friday from 9 till 10 or thereabouts. I appreciate you tuning in. If you're interested in becoming a newspaper reading volunteer, we would appreciate all the help we can get at this time. So you can go to aocinc.org to fill out an application form and come join the newspaper reading family. Again, have a great day. Please stay safe, healthy, and above all, be kind to each other. Have a good day.